Dianna Russini yesterday on Twitter, saying she just texted with an NFL head coach about the upcoming cuts and, quote, it's going to be a massacre next week all around the league. So, again, Dianna gets up with us early this morning. What are we, seismic shift, all kinds of changes. What are we expecting to see here over the next week to 10 days?
Yeah, it's obviously going to be huge news over the next few weeks. And we've already started to see teams get rid of some players right now and make those cuts. So here's what we need to know. It's just the fact that the salary cap has been lowered, Greeny. So now teams have got to make really tough decisions on veteran players usually that don't have any guaranteed money left on their contracts. Those are usually the ones that stand out, that are going to go first. Now, the difference between what we're seeing this year and in years past, because a lot of NFL fans say, well, we always see a lot of cuts this time of year. Well, now teams that normally would leave guys on their roster because they could eat a little bit of money, maybe $1-2 million extra dollars, they cannot do that. And Greeny, let's not forget, the salary cap hasn't even been set yet. We think it's around 180. We've been hearing it will go up to 185, but we should get that final answer over the next week and a half, right before the start of NFL free agency. But teams right now, they're pulling their purse strings real tight, trying to get those rosters in order.
Free agency begins, in theory, a week from Monday. That's when the legal tampering period begins, and then the new league year starts on that Wednesday. So, Dianna, we just saw a bunch of names on the screen. Give me the teams that should be, or we would expect to be, most impacted by this.
Well, let's always go with the obvious way to figure it out. You see who's in the red, who's in trouble in terms of their finances, right? You've got the New Orleans Saints, you've got the Atlanta Falcons. These are guys that are in a lot of trouble. You know, we've been talking about that Russell Wilson potential trade with the New Orleans Saints, and we all say the same thing when you ask us about it, Greeny. We're like, they don't have any money. They can't pay the guy. They really don't. And when I reach out to those teams that I know are in cap trouble, they all say the same thing, which is we are not going to be players in free agency, and next week is going to be a bloodbath when it comes to making cuts, because they got to figure out a way to get those numbers down and pay the guys they really like.
Well, look, I'm not an economist, but when I see negative $69 million, even I can figure out that that's not a good situation. Can I get Yates in this conversation as well? Let me get Field, because Field, Yates, as I bring you in on this as well, one person's issue is another person's opportunity, right? There are teams that are poised now perhaps to have very profitable, I don't mean that literally, but figuratively, off seasons here, taking advantage of this. Field, who do we have our eye on there?
Yeah, no question about it, Greeny. You look at teams like, for example, the Patriots, who are flush with capital this offseason in terms of cap space. This is a team that could have $60+ million in cap space if they do nothing. That number could balloon if they make a couple of cuts on their own. And let me ask you something, Greeny, that's a rhetorical question. Do you think Bill Belichick wants to go 7-9 again next year? Yeah, we know the answer to that question. We'll talk about the quarterback solution the Patriots have to figure out at some point this offseason. But when you've got teams that are effectively sitting out in free agency, you've gone from, let's say, 32 to 24 teams that are actually spending, and the Patriots have a stack of cash. I know this team was down last year, but I expect them to look a lot different by the time we get to the first wave of free agency. Bill Belichick is ready to spend.
Yeah, he's got opportunities to do it in the draft and through free agency with the money. Give me one more, Dianna. Give me one more team that's in a good spot to perhaps really increase its situation and its roster over the next week and 10 days.
I just like to win points with you. It's the New York Jets. They're in a great position because they got lots of money to spend. So there you go.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.